I woke up feeling dizzy. My side hurt, and I could feel the stitches pulling with every breath. I looked around, expecting to see him sitting there, holding my hand, smiling. Instead, a nurse walked in and gently handed me an envelope. I thought it might be a card or a note. It wasn't. It was divorce papers. He had filed them 4 days before my surgery, the surgery where I gave his mother one of my kidneys. I couldn't believe it. I had gone through all that pain to help his family. I had risked my health, gone through tests, and even ignored my own fears. He told me everything would be fine. He held my hand the night before surgery and said, "You're doing something amazing. I'll be right here when you wake up." I trusted him. I loved him. We were married for 3 years. I had stood by him through everything, job changes, money problems, even when his mom got sick. When the doctors said she needed a kidney, I didn't even hesitate. I stepped up. He called me a hero. His family cried and thanked me. I thought I was part of something strong. I thought we were solid, but he didn't show up after the surgery. Not on day 1, not on day 2. I kept asking the nurses, "Has my husband come by?" They shook their heads. One of them finally looked at me with kind eyes and said, "I'm sorry." Then she handed me that envelope. I opened it with shaking hands. I couldn't understand the words at first. Then it hit me. He had filed for divorce before the surgery. He knew what he was doing. He used me. He waited until the paperwork was in before I went under. He didn't even wait to see if I'd make it out okay. There were no flowers, no calls, no explanation, just a cold legal letter with a lawyer's signature. I lay there in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. My chest felt hollow, like something inside me had broken. I had given a part of myself, literally, to help his mother. And in return, he left me without a word. He took my love, my trust, and my kidney. He didn't even say goodbye. I kept asking myself, why? But there was no answer. Just silence. Just pain. I thought love meant something. I thought he meant it when he said forever. But forever, to him, ended before I even went into surgery. I held the papers in my lap and stared at the signature. It was real. This was really happening. And in that moment, something inside me changed. I knew I couldn't go back. I knew this was the end, not just of our marriage, but of who I was before. Everything was different now. He came to see me a few days later. I was sitting on the couch at my sister's place, still healing, still trying to understand what had happened. My body was weak, but my heart felt even weaker. I didn't know what to say when I saw him walk in. I thought maybe he had come to explain, maybe even to say sorry. But he looked calm, too calm. He sat across from me like we were just having a normal talk. There was no guilt in his face, no sadness, only a little smirk like he was proud of himself. That's when I knew he hadn't come to apologize. "I didn't want to do it like this," he said, pretending to care. "But now that everything is out in the open, I might as well tell you the truth." I didn't say anything. I just waited, holding the edge of the blanket in my lap. "I never really wanted this," he said. "You were always just the backup plan." I stared at him. I thought I heard him wrong. He kept talking. "I wanted to be with someone else," he said. "She was the one. But she got married before I could tell her how I felt. I thought I lost my chance." He leaned back in the chair like he was talking about the weather. "Not our marriage. Not my life. You were safe," he said. "You were always kind, always there. I thought I could make it work with you. And honestly, it was fine for a while." My chest burned. I couldn't move. I just sat there frozen while he ripped my heart open with every word. "But now she's divorced," he said. "And I'm free. I have to take my shot. I can't miss it again." That was it. That was his big reason. He didn't say he was sorry. He didn't thank me for saving his mother's life. He didn't ask if I was okay. He just wanted me to understand that I was nothing more than a second choice. A safe bet until something better came along. I couldn't believe it. All the memories, all the promises, all the little moments we shared, they meant nothing to him. I had given him everything. My love, my trust, even a part of my body. And to him, I was just a placeholder. I felt something crack inside me. At first, it was just silence. Then slowly, it turned into heat. My hands started shaking. My face felt hot. My chest rose and fell with short, heavy breaths. I wasn't crying. I wasn't begging. I was angry. He stood up, thinking the conversation was over. "I hope you understand," he said. I didn't answer. I just looked at him one last time, memorizing the face of the man who used me. A man with no guilt, no shame, and no heart. As he walked out, I knew I would never forget that moment. Not because of the pain, but because of the fire it lit inside me. I had been quiet for too long. That was about to change. I moved in with my sister after leaving the hospital. My body was still healing. I couldn't walk far without pain, and even breathing too deeply hurt. My sister helped me with everything, food, medicine, even getting out of bed some days. She never asked too many questions. She just stayed close, like she knew I needed someone. I tried to rest. I tried to forget, but the thoughts wouldn't stop. I kept thinking about what he said, that I was just the backup plan. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face and heard his voice. I remembered giving up my kidney for his mother, and then waking up alone. No flowers. No call. Just divorce papers. And now I knew why. One morning, I picked up my phone. I hadn't been online in a while, but something told me to check. I opened social media and scrolled without thinking. Then I saw it. A photo of him, smiling, standing next to her. They were at the beach. Blue water, palm trees, drinks in their hands. He had his arm around her like they had nothing to hide. The photo was posted 3 days ago. I looked at the date. That was while I was still on painkillers, barely able to sit up without help. There were more pictures. A sunset dinner, a boat ride, her wearing one of his shirts. They looked like they were in love, and he looked happy. Not a trace of guilt on his face. My hands went cold. I stared at the screen until it blurred. My chest felt tight, but I didn't cry. I just sat there frozen. Something inside me shifted. Something quiet, but sharp. He took my love. He took my trust. He took my kidney. And now he was out there, living his best life with someone else, like none of it mattered. Like I never mattered. That's when I knew I was done being quiet. I wasn't going to cry in silence anymore. I wasn't going to be the one left behind, broken and forgotten. He didn't get to hurt me and walk away like nothing happened. He didn't get to take my kidney and my dignity. I got up slowly and looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, tired, and thin. But my eyes looked different. They were focused now. Cold. I whispered to myself, I want him ruined. Not out of rage. Not out of sadness. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I was going to think, plan, be smart. I knew things. I had proof. Screenshots, messages, stories he told me that I now saw clearly were lies. He had no idea what I could do. He had treated me like I was nothing, like I would just disappear. But he had forgotten something important. I was the one who saved his mother's life. I was the reason she was still breathing, and I still had my voice. Now, I was going to use it. I called his mother a few days later. My voice was calm, even though my hands were shaking. I asked if I could come by to see how she was feeling. She said yes right away. She sounded happy to hear from me. She didn't know anything yet. When I arrived, she was sitting in the living room with a blanket over her legs and a cup of tea in her hand. She smiled when she saw me and opened her arms for a hug. I sat down beside her. For a few minutes, we talked about small things, her recovery, the food the nurses brought, how her garden was doing. I let her speak first. I wanted her to feel safe. I wanted her to hear everything from me, not someone else. After a while, I said, "There's something I need to tell you." She looked at me, concerned. "What is it?" I took a deep breath and started talking. I told her the truth. All of it. I told her that he had filed for divorce before the surgery, that he never came to see me afterward, that he didn't even wait to make sure I was okay. Her face began to change slowly, first confusion, then sadness, then something darker. I told her that he had been seeing someone else the whole time, that he had told me I was just the backup plan, that he had already moved on, like I never mattered. She put her hand to her mouth, her eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head. "No," she whispered. "He wouldn't, he couldn't." But I could see it in her face. She was starting to believe me. Deep down, she knew her son was capable of this. Maybe not before, but now she did. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just sat there and let the truth speak for itself. "I gave you my kidney," I said softly, "and I don't regret that. But I thought I was helping a family that loved me. I didn't know I was being used." She was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at me with eyes full of pain. "I don't know who he is anymore," she said. "My own son. How could he do this?" I didn't answer. There was nothing more to say. She looked down at her hands. "He let you save me, knowing he was leaving you. That's soulless. That's not how I raised him." She leaned forward and took my hand. Her grip was warm and steady. "I want you to know something," she said. "You didn't just give me life again. You showed me the truth. And I'm not on his side. Not after this." Tears ran down her cheeks, but she didn't wipe them away. "You saved me," she said. "He betrayed us both." I squeezed her hand. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone. I started going through my phone, slowly and carefully. Every message, every email, every screenshot I had saved. I wasn't just looking at the past. I was building something. I had texts from him, ones where he promised to be there forever. I had emails where we talked about my surgery, how scared I was, and how he told me I was doing something beautiful. I found pictures of us with his mother, smiling. I found messages from friends who knew something felt off, but didn't say anything at the time. Now they were ready to talk. I didn't act fast. I wasn't rushing. I wanted everything to be clear and true. I wanted people to see the full story, not just a piece of it. I made sure I had proof for every word I planned to say. I didn't want drama. I wanted facts. Then I made a post. It was short. It was honest. And it was all true. I donated a kidney to my husband's mom. 4 days before my surgery, he filed for divorce. I woke up with stitches and divorce papers. He never even visited me. I found out later he had already moved on with someone else. I was just the backup plan. He said that to my face. I didn't use his name, but I didn't have to. I posted it on Reddit first, under a throwaway account. Then I posted it on a private Facebook group we were both part of, one where many of his friends, coworkers, and even old classmates were members. I knew people would figure it out. I wanted them to. At first, I didn't look at the comments. I wasn't sure I could handle it, but a few hours later I checked. It had exploded. People were furious. They couldn't believe what they were reading. The post was shared again and again. Some people started connecting the dots. They knew who I was talking about. They remembered us as the couple who always smiled in photos. They couldn't believe what he had done. Some of his coworkers started commenting, not directly, but in ways that were clear. One person wrote, "So this is what that meeting was really about." Another said, "Explains why he's been acting so weird lately." I saw the ripples starting to spread. Later, someone messaged me privately. They said, "Your story made it to the office. Even the boss saw it. He's not saying much, but he looks uncomfortable." I didn't reply. I just watched. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't laughing. I just felt calm. I had told the truth, and now the truth was doing its work. He had always cared about his image, how people saw him, how polished he looked, how kind and smart he seemed. That image was breaking, not because I screamed or shouted, but because I shared what happened, quiet, clear, and with proof. He took my kidney. He tried to take my dignity, but I still had my voice, and I used it. He showed up without warning. I was sitting on the porch when I heard a car pull up fast. He slammed the door and walked straight toward me. His face was red, eyes full of anger. He didn't say hello. He didn't ask how I was. He went straight to shouting, "You're ruining my life. Do you have any idea what you've done?" I stayed quiet. I looked at him but didn't speak. He kept going. "My boss saw the post. My clients are asking questions. People are treating me like some monster. You need to take it down. Now." His voice was shaking, not from sadness, but from fear. For the first time, he looked powerless. I had never seen him like that. When he stopped yelling, I stood up. I looked him in the eyes and spoke calmly. "I told the truth," I said. "You're just upset people finally see who you really are." He opened his mouth to argue, but I didn't let him. "I'll give you 2 choices," I said. "That's more than you gave me." He crossed his arms, waiting. "Option 1, I said. "You write a public apology. You admit what you did. You post it yourself. No lies, no excuses." He laughed. A dry, bitter sound. "You're joking." "I'm not," I said. "Option 2. You donate $10,000 to an organ transplant charity. In my name. Quietly. No post, no show. Just the receipt sent to me." He shook his head. "Are you blackmailing me?" "No," I said. "I'm giving you a chance to do something right for once. If you don't want either option, that's fine too." He looked confused. "What does that mean?" "I have recordings," I said. "Our calls. Our messages. Even the one where you said I was just the backup plan. I kept everything." His eyes widened just a little. "You wouldn't." "I will," I said. "If you walk away and choose to do nothing, I'll make sure more people hear the full story. Not just in a post. In your office. In your inbox. Maybe even your next job interview." He stared at me, breathing hard. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "This is crazy. You're crazy." I smiled. Not wide. Just enough to show him I wasn't scared anymore. "No," I said. "I'm just done staying quiet." He turned around and stormed back to his car. Didn't say another word. Drove off too fast, tires screeching. I sat back down on the porch. The air felt lighter. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel guilty. I gave him a chance to fix what he broke. He chose pride. Now he'd have to live with that. A few days later, I got a message from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to open it. The first line said, "Can we talk?" Underneath was her name, the woman he had left me for, the one from the photos. I stared at the screen for a minute before replying with just one word. "Why?" She answered quickly. "I didn't know," she wrote. "Please, I need to explain. I agreed to meet at a coffee shop near my sister's place. It was quiet there. I chose a table in the corner, and she arrived a little later, looking nervous. Her hair was tied back, and she wore no makeup. She looked different from the smiling woman in the beach photos. She sat down and spoke first. "He told me you were just his roommate," she said, "that you were divorced a long time ago. He said you let his mom move in because she had no one else." I didn't say anything. I just watched her face change as she continued. "He told me the surgery was small, nothing serious. He never said you gave her your kidney. He never said you were still married when we met. And when I asked about you last week, he said you were bitter and jealous. That you made up stories." I could see the guilt building in her eyes. "But then I saw your post," she said quietly, "and I started asking questions. Real questions." He got angry. Wouldn't answer. That's when I knew. She looked down at the table and shook her head. I believed him. I thought he was kind. I thought he was honest. But now I see it. He used you. And then he lied to both of us. She took out her phone and showed me something. It was her social media profile. His pictures were gone. All of them. Every photo, every post, every tag with his name had been deleted. I ended it, she said. And I didn't do it quietly. Her voice was calm now, but firm. My friends know. My family knows. He's trying to play the victim, but I don't care. I'm done. I nodded. There was nothing more to say. She stood up to leave, but paused for a moment. She looked me in the eyes and said, "You didn't deserve any of this. He deserves nothing." Then she walked away. I sat there, still for a while. I wasn't happy exactly, but I felt something shift, like a door had finally closed. She had believed his lies just like I once had. But now she knew. She had seen the truth. Not because I forced it, but because the truth always finds a way to show itself. I didn't message her again. I didn't need to. We weren't friends, but we had both been fooled by the same man. And now neither of us was fooled anymore. I started waking up without that heavy feeling in my chest. Slowly, day by day, the pain became quieter. I wasn't fully okay yet, but I wasn't broken anymore either. I had been through something terrible, but I was still standing. I began going to therapy. At first, I didn't know what to say. I just sat there and cried. But week by week, I started speaking more. I talked about the surgery, the lies, the betrayal. I talked about how I had given so much and got nothing in return. The therapist listened without judgment. She helped me see that I wasn't weak. I was someone who had loved deeply, and that was never a mistake. I had once given up my dreams for him. I used to write, take photos, and do design work. He said those things were cute hobbies, and told me to focus on being a supportive wife. So I had let them go. But now I picked them up again. I opened my laptop and started building a small website. I posted my photos and wrote blog entries. I shared design samples and took on small projects. Soon, people started hiring me. I worked from home, and every time I got a new message or job request, I smiled a little more. One day, I got a message from a journalist. She had read my story online and wanted to talk. I hesitated but said yes. I shared my truth, not with anger, just honesty. The article came out with the title, "She Donated Her Kidney." He gave her divorce papers. It went viral. People from all over the world messaged me. Some said they cried reading it. Others shared their own stories of betrayal. Many just wanted to say thank you. Then something unexpected happened. A small organ donation charity reached out to me. They had read the article and wanted to feature me in their campaign. I said yes. I did a podcast interview, then another. I spoke about the importance of giving, even when it's hard. I never talked about him directly. This was no longer about him. It was about me. Through it all, something inside me changed. I no longer felt like a victim. I felt strong. I felt like myself again, maybe even better than before. I had a job I loved, people who supported me, and a growing voice that I used to help others. My story wasn't just a sad one anymore. It had turned into something real, something that mattered. I didn't forgive him. I didn't pretend it never hurt. But I stopped letting his choices control my future. He took a part of my life, but he didn't take all of it. I rebuilt the rest with my own hands. This wasn't the life I planned. It was the one I made from what was left. And somehow it was even better. I didn't expect to hear from his mother again. After everything, I thought she would want to stay far away from the mess. But one morning I got a call. It was her. Her voice was soft. She asked how I was feeling. I told her I was getting better slowly. She asked if she could visit. When she came over, she brought flowers and homemade soup. She hugged me like nothing had changed between us. I could see sadness in her eyes, but it wasn't because of me. She looked ashamed of what her son had done. She said, "I still can't believe he did this to you." We talked for hours. She told me I had always been like a daughter to her. She said what he did broke her heart, too. I didn't cry, but I felt a lump in my throat. It meant more than she knew. From then on, we stayed in touch. She would call me on weekends just to chat. Sometimes she sent me recipes or photos of her garden. When the holidays came around, she invited me over. I wasn't sure at first, but she said, "You are family. Please come." At her house, everything felt warm and familiar. Her siblings greeted me like before. Nobody mentioned him. I asked quietly if he would be coming. She shook her head and said, "He's not invited." I looked at her, surprised. She smiled, a little sad, and said, "He may have my blood, but you have my heart." Her words stayed with me. I hadn't just lost a husband. I had lost a whole family. Or so I thought. But she had chosen me, even after the truth came out. She had seen everything he did and didn't turn away. Over time, we built a different kind of bond. We went shopping together, cooked meals, and even watched old movies on weekends. She supported my new work and told everyone she knew about the interviews I had done. She cheered me on like a proud mother. He, on the other hand, faded from the picture. She didn't speak to him much anymore. She said he didn't understand what love or respect meant. He didn't apologize, not to me or to her. He thought he could walk away clean. But he lost more than just a marriage. He lost the one person who had always stood by him, his own mother. Sometimes life gives you strange gifts. I lost a partner, but I didn't lose all the love I had. His mother, who once welcomed me as a daughter-in-law, now stood beside me as something even stronger, family by choice. And that, I think, hurt him more than anything else. It took time, but I reached a place where I didn't feel heavy anymore. I didn't cry when I thought of him. I didn't wonder what he was doing or who he was with. The pain didn't follow me around like a shadow. It had settled down, and I could finally breathe without thinking of him. I never got an apology. No real one, at least. He never looked me in the eyes and admitted what he did. He never said he was sorry for lying, for using me, for walking away when I was at my weakest. At first, that made me angry. I wanted answers. I wanted him to feel even a little of what I felt. But in time, I realized something important. I didn't need him to say anything. I didn't need his words to move forward. What I needed was already inside me. I had survived everything. I had healed my own wounds, picked myself up, and started again. I had done it without him, and that meant more than any apology ever could. One quiet evening, I sat down with my laptop and opened a blank page. I wanted to write one last post. Not for attention, not for pity, just for myself. I had told my story before, but this time it felt different. I wasn't writing from pain. I was writing from peace. I wrote about love, about how I gave everything to someone who didn't deserve it. My time, my trust, my loyalty, and yes, even part of my body. I gave him all of that because I believed in us. I believed in him, and he gave me the truth, even if it came in the ugliest way. I no longer needed to understand why he did it. People hurt others sometimes, not because they are strong, but because they are weak. He didn't break me. He revealed himself. That's all. When I finished typing, I sat back and read the words again. They were calm. There was no anger, no bitterness. Just truth. I didn't forgive him. I didn't have to. But I was free now. At the end I wrote, I gave him my love, my body, even a piece of my literal self. He gave me the truth, and that's all I needed to walk away. Then I hit post. I closed the laptop and smiled just a little. I didn't need closure from him. I had created my own. I had become it. And that was enough. If you believe in rising after betrayal, in healing with grace, and taking your power back, share this story with someone who needs strength today. Remember, real courage doesn't shout. It survives, it rebuilds, it rises, just like she did. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Like and follow for more true stories that inspire and empower.